confirm your volumes this time.
It's not entirely true.
All right, Devin, you are good on Mixer, so let's go this time.
Mixer.
I'm good over here. I can see my mic moving on YouTube.
Devin, you're muted. All right, Devin, you are good.
Yes, the first time I had to change my mic.
Mixer.
I'm good over here. I can see my mic moving on YouTube.
Devin, you're muted. All right, Devin, you are good.
Yes, the first time I had to change my mic.
All right.
Oh my gosh, are we in a time loop? What is happening?
Steven's listening to YouTube right now.
I don't like it.
That's funny.
All right, so here we go. We are live. We're ready to go. We like to welcome everyone out. I'm going to hit the record. Well, we've been recording, so I'm just going to get a pause. We'll start the show, and we'll talk about some Anthem, and we'll announce to people that we're leaving the show for forever. 5 seconds.
Welcome to the weekly episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins, and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to episode 105 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. I am your host, Steve, along with my 3 co-hosts, Michael, Devin, and JD. And guys, I want to say congratulations to hitting episode 105. As we all know, episode 105 is a huge milestone. Mike, will you tell everyone why episode 105 is a gigantic milestone for us?
Episode 105 is the biggest of milestones for us here at the Freelancer Codex podcast for a myriad of reasons. Number one, 105 is the number at which we both drew on a deck of cards at the same time when we started this whole process, saying that that's the one we want to get to. We want to get to 105, and then we're going to shut everything down and wrap it up because we thought that was a good round, even number. And so, we're there.
All right. And that
Is
is
that
why
what you meant?
Yes, that's exactly why.
Is that what you meant?
It pretty much that's what it was.
105 is actually a huge milestone because if you think about it, that's one more than 104
That is
and
correct.
one less than 106. So
So
it's just right there in the middle.
We are like a minute into it, so that means we're like episode 105.003. So that's also interesting. All right, so a couple things we want to talk about on this 26th of September. I like September. September is a good month. The game launched 223 days ago. That's a really long time. It's been 51 days since the launch of the Cataclysm. I guess I have to change that. And I guess that means it's been closed since Tuesday. So it's been closed for 2 days. So that's kind of sad. Cataclysm did not go away. It has actually stuck around, but we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, a couple of things of note. We have some housekeeping. You can email us at freelancercodex@gmail.com. You can send us voice messages at 505-386-7917, and then we'll play those on the show. Those are a lot of fun. Ask a friend of the show, Phaedron. He loves getting on those things and calling us in. Please do it some more, or else I'm paying for that number for no reason. All right. Big announcements for episode 105 for the Freelancer Codex. We are going to be changing the format of the show a little bit. Instead of doing a weekly Anthem show, we are going to change this to a bi-week. We're going to change
A BioWare by what? No.
Steve, go ahead. Take a breath. You're still.
He's not in 2 times speed. It's 1 time speed.
Think about what you're saying.
I will talk like a normal person now. We are going to go to a bi-weekly show for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think I won't talk for you guys, so if you guys have something to say, you can do that.
Whatever, you always talk for us.
I try to. Doing the show once a week has been a lot of fun. It made a lot of sense for us. In the beginning, when we didn't have anything to talk about, it was a lot of fun to speculate and to try and guess where things would go. I mean, we've gone in directions that I don't think we ever thought we would have. Starting from the launch of the game to where we are now, Cataclysm was the biggest release for the game thus far. And then not having any communication on what is going on in the future has kind of, me personally, left me like, Um, if there's no direction, it's hard for me to want to continue to talk about it as much as we have been, just because I think the only other thing that we would have to talk about is lore. And that's, just talking about lore for Anthem doesn't really fill an hour worth of content on the show, I don't think. And that wouldn't be an interesting hour of content. I think it'd be fun if, maybe somewhere down the future, it's just like a short 15-minute show of lore. But currently, I I don't feel like I can do a weekly show without knowing what's coming in the future. I think, bi-weekly, that's a little bit easier because then we can kind of gather things that are actually happening in the game, or communications if we get any from the developers. So, and I think also it's going to give us a little bit more time to actually enjoy the game again and not feel like we have to be playing it. And if we're not doing our community a service of not knowing exactly what's going on. I rambled a lot, so I don't know. What are your thoughts, Devon, on switching to bite?
My thoughts. No, I think that's fine. We've talked about these things for a while. Like you said, before Anthem came out, it was fun to kind of create our own hypothesis of what's going to happen, kind of speculate, imagine. Just, the opportunities were endless. The opportunity is still endless, but it's more defined of what Anthem is, and so it's hard for us to continue to speculate in the future. Beyond new stuff of basically just saying, hey, fix these problems, fix those problems, just kind of reiterating the same things we've been talking about for a couple months now. And so I think going to a bi-weekly format of giving us time to see, okay, did developers say anything this week? Do we have any communication from the community managers? Are we, going to have any kind of event for this holiday? Are they going to have Thanksgiving feast? Are they, I don't know. But yeah, I think, it'll be good. It'll give us a little bit of a breather time, for a little bit. Obviously, if they start communicating more often and there's more content to talk about, it's not, hard for us to just record more episodes, and right, come back to a weekly format if that's how things start to go back to, where there's more to talk about and more to share.
Mike, thoughts?
So if I can just share a little bit about our internal discussions, this wasn't a decision that we came to lightly. A lot of stuff played into this, and we thought about it long and hard, and what we were going to do, and how we can best cover Anthem moving forward. And really, this is a result of what is coming out from developers. And it's unfortunate that it's happened that way, and it's unfortunate the way that we have been getting communication, or we haven't been getting communication, and we can speculate on what that means and everything, but really this is what's best. This is what we're doing, and we appreciate everyone who will stick with us through this, and if you feel like this is the end of your run with the Freelancer Codex, then that's okay too. We wish you the best, and not to be all doom and gloom, because we're not doom and gloom, because we're still here. We're still talking about Anthem, and we'll Steve and Devon and JD will still be active in Discord and on the Twitters. And
you jump in there every now and then just to remind people that you're alive.
I am alive. I am here. I've got one of those rotary smartphones, and it's really tough to type on a rotary dial. So JD, rotary phones were something that came out before touch phones. So and that's just the way we're going, and that's how it's gonna be. So
that's how we're going.
Any thoughts on the change, JD?
Well, so I got a lot going on at home, obviously. I literally have my dad just in the other room. I checked on him before I came in here to record and all that. And honestly, last few weeks, I come home from work and I do everything that my dad did on a daily basis. And my dad was a retiree with a lot of time for, and so my days have gone from, waking up at, 5:30 in the morning and, being able to kick back once I'm home at 4:30 to, waking up at, 4:30, 5 a.m. and then going all the way up until 5, 6, 7 in the afternoon, 7 in the evening, making dinner for my mom or whoever else is here at the house. And, some nights I just need my rest to make sure everything can happen smoothly. You guys might have just heard him coughing in the background there.
Nope.
Oh, wow. Then I guess I didn't pick up, but no, like I love BioWare. I really enjoy Anthem, but the fact is that, as much as I care about about the game and I care about the developer, I care about my dad and my family more. And honestly, having to decide some nights, to, have to leave my mom to watch my dad all by herself, so I can come and do this. It actually kind of breaks my heart a little bit because, I just keep wondering what could happen. And when it's not really worth it, when we're not really getting information that's worth it, to cover every weekend, we have to scramble to come up with stuff. It just doesn't feel like it's worth doing the week to week right now.
Yeah, well, I hope you've never felt pressure from us, JD, to show up.
Oh, no. It's something that my dad instilled in me. Take pride in what you do. And it's I just didn't want to let 100 plus episodes just kind of fall to the wayside in terms of the effort we've put into what we've done together. And I don't feel pressure. It's just it's important to me, and that doesn't lose value just because bad things happen. So
no, I gotcha. So a couple of things for the patrons out there. Completely understand it if this means you're going to adjust your pledge to the show. Do that. If you feel like there's less value, we completely understand. No hard feelings. It's a decision that you have to make, and you know what? We still want you here. The show will still be free. Still hang out with us. Still communicate with us, and that'll be awesome. But we wanted to give you a heads up before the payments went through at the end of this month. That would have been a jerk thing to do, right? Wait until the beginning of the year, and they'd be like, "Hey, Howard." That would have been a terrible move. All right, so a couple of things that's really the announcements that we have. We'll still be here every other week. Show up. If not, check us out on our other podcasts over at shutupandrespawn.com. We've got a bunch of stuff that we're going to be recording and sending out to you guys through there because we still want to talk about stuff, and there's lots of stuff to talk about. All right, a couple things. We have an email from one of our patrons, Gareth.
Steve.
Yes, Mike. Go.
Breathe.
You go. I cannot breathe. I've got to breathe. I'm going to start dripping tears because of the things that are happening on the back end. Okay.
Breathe.
All right. Gareth wrote in, one of our bosses, and asked an interesting question. He said, let's see. Well, I won't read the whole thing because the whole thing was really sappy. He said a lot of things about Mike that we won't read on the show, so we won't do that. So Gareth says, "Hey guys, I'm still loving the podcast even though Mike is on." No, he didn't say. I wasn't supposed to read that part. I don't play Anthem a whole lot now. I did have a thought, though, on how they could totally fix Anthem with one change and wanted to know what your thoughts was. Yes, I realize it's a bold claim. The elevator pitch. So the way you do it is to let people choose exactly what legendary they get. Instead of a random item drop, what you get is a legendary masterwork epic token. So you then redeem them for the item of your choice, but with totally random inscriptions. So this is actually something that multiple games have done. I believe, did Destiny do this at one time where you got a token in the raid, and if you added up so many tokens, you were able to get a raid item?
Yeah.
Devon, am I remembering that correctly? Okay.
Yep.
And it's also something that they've done in World of Warcraft. If you get enough raid tokens, you go in, you turn in the stuff, and you get what you want. This is an idea that at this point, it's like, you know what? I'll take anything to get the items that we do want. So, I would be all for a system like this, to where if you put in the time, you're grinding out your strongholds, you're grinding out your cataclysms, and you get a legendary token, you turn it in for whatever you want. Yeah, sign me up for that. That sounds like a great way to do this. I don't know how exciting it would be to like get a token, because really there's always that dopamine hit, like when you're playing a looter shooter and you see that orange beam pop up. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
they got a legendary, and I think you would kind of lose out on that excitement.
Well,
I don't know
that's
how.
kind of how it happened with Destiny, where it was just like, oh, you're just getting tokens all the time, so it's not as cool, right? So both systems have problems, but it's like when it's all one way or all the other way, it was just like, oh, all I get is tokens, and now I'm gonna go buy stuff. It kind of lost a little bit of that shine, in
Yeah,
my experience.
no, and I agree, because I'm thinking back to games that we've played, like Diablo 3, even back to Diablo 1, Diablo 2 days. Anytime you got a legendary to drop, or like what were the orange items in World of Warcraft called? They were world items, maybe. I don't remember exactly what they were called, but that was like a big moment where you saw that beam, or you saw the item on the floor. When you were playing Borderlands 2 and you saw those items come out, like the first time I got the bee, finally, the little shield that, completely broke the game, like have that moment of excitement. I don't know if you necessarily get that with the token system. I know probably in the long run, getting what you wanted probably feels better, but that's kind of a hard balance to strike. I don't know if Mike, if you have a preference on, would you rather get the token, or would you rather see the beam of light and have that little sound indicator when a legendary drops?
So in legendary drops, I'd rather get the drop there. Um, I don't
Why
I
can't
don't
they do
feel
both, right?
like a token. I guess you could do both. But I think the thing that makes this work is just the balance. I mean, if you need to fix your legendary system to where your legendaries aren't garbage, then that's what needs to happen if you're going to drop legendaries. And if you're going to drop the tokens, if that were the only thing, so that would be the only thing that you would be expecting, so there were no any other like way to get it. And so I think just striking that balance is the way to go. I don't remember the token system in Destiny.
That happened probably after we stopped playing. I believe
Yeah.
that was, when did they
It
implement
was
the token system?
Destiny 2, I
That
thought.
was, yeah.
It was for the Menagerie raid. I don't know. I didn't play a lot of Destiny 2 after the base game release, so
Yeah.
I'm probably seeing something, and someone in chat's probably yelling at us like,
I
"Well,
think I think a good system would be where they still drop stuff in the activity while you're playing, but for completing the activity, they could give you tokens, and then once you save up enough of those, you can go and buy a specific item that you are legendary that you've been looking for and haven't gotten. Right? So I mean, they can have a lower amount of tokens that you get for completing difficult tasks or whatever, and
Right.
you can still get loot that would drop. So there's still the opportunity to earn that loot just randomly, but there's also the way to earn
To
some
buy it if
tokens
you
to be able
don't
to
get
buy
it.
it if you're not
Yeah.
having any luck at all with the weapon that you want, and maybe don't make it horrible, RNG for the inscriptions. I mean, because right now that's really what it is. I mean, you can.
Or even just have the inscriptions up there up front so you know what you're
Yeah,
getting.
so I mean, this is a set item. These are the
Yeah.
exact inscriptions, and I think they could definitely use some of those weapons and gear pieces where it is 100% set ahead of time, and you know what you're gonna get. And so I think that would be something that people could actually shoot for more than just hoping to get randomly good stuff.
Sorry.
But what
Yeah,
do you
that
think,
makes
JD?
sense, and it
Since he hasn't told us what he
Well,
thought yet.
well, I mean, like, I think an idea that could work is that, like, maybe if the tokens were basically just like, if they were legendary weapons, like you had gotten that particular legendary weapon before and you're basically just getting a new one of that, I feel like that might help things a little bit, because like it's kind of like how like in Destiny, like you could if you had like enough like exotic shards or coins or whatever, you could just like get old exotics that you had already done, but back when they had like different roles, like you could get different roles when you got it again, like when you like went back into that, like I think it was Destiny 1, not Destiny 2, that did that, where you had like the whole list of legendaries, you could get one out, and like after you spent like a certain amount of like exotic shards or something. But I think like if it was a high amount of tokens, like maybe like multiple tokens for like an item that you didn't get before, and then it was like a smaller amount for one that you had gone before, but you're just looking to get better inscriptions, I think that can make it worth the time. I know I would appreciate it, because then it feels like even if I like play for like an entire day, like let's say I have like a day off and I have nothing to do, and I just play Anthem for hours and hours and hours, and I don't really get like many legendaries, or at least not the legendary I'm looking for. At least I have something to show for it that makes me feel like my time was worth it, at least somewhat. Like, if I was aiming for one particular legendary weapon and I get that, even if it's not the inscriptions that I want, even if they're not great, I still feel somewhat validated in my time spent.
Yeah, and I think this is something that, I mean, it's more of a philosophy thing, but I would love in all these looter shooters, we eventually get away from the idea of having levels, because it's always just a stopgap to get you through like the first initial, like, hey, play these missions and you'll level up and then you'll get to the end game, and that's where it really starts. One thing that Destiny had going for it, and this is what they did in World of Warcraft Legion, but having weapons that actually have perks that you can level up and select from different perks, I would much rather like go through a leveling path on a weapon instead of going through like the level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on my character, and just be like, you know what, this is the gun you're going to keep because this is the gun that you like, and this is the path that you can level it up. If you want your Gravedigger to do elemental damage, there's a path for it. If you want it to do force damage, there's a path for it. If you want it to be more accurate, if you want it to be quicker to reload, you have options that you can build on that weapon. And you know what? Even having this idea, it would be a great, dump to put in all these stupid embers that we've collected over the, hundreds of hours that we've played the game. And then we're not just like, oh, trash this crap, because, we spend so much time dismantling and picking up loot that we're never going to do anything with. It's like, and that's something that probably won't happen, because it's almost ingrained in every RPG since the beginning of RPGs that there's a leveling system. I mean, we can thank Dungeons and Dragons for that, because that's where most of these things are based off of. And it's just something that's ingrained in the lexicon of video games, that there has to be a leveling system. And I would love to see like some developer like go out of their way and be like, hey, we can do this a different way. Just because it's, because this is how we've done it in the past doesn't mean we have to do like this in the future. All right. Thanks, Gareth. Emails. Continue to send in your emails and your thoughts. A couple of changes that have happened before we jump into like the big changes this week. There was a change to the feature store 2 weeks ago. They extended the reset time from its 3 to 4 day. I mean, before it would reset on Tuesday and then it would reset on Friday. Last 2 weeks, it would reset, and it reset to 7 days. And it did that for a week and a half. We reached out to BioWare for comment. They did not comment back. So no, I won't. Okay. So they didn't comment back. We hadn't heard anything. And then today it reset back to the 3 to 4 days. This is something that I think, I don't know why they don't just say, hey guys, we messed up, we're resetting it back, or tell us, hey, we want to try this out. Recently, Anthem was put into the EA Access Vault or whatever it's called. I don't know all the terminology for all these things, but it was put out there so that if you're paying $5 a month, you have access to Anthem. So it seemed weird at that exact time that they extended the length of the reset store to 7 days. I don't know if that was a bug that came in with whatever. I don't know. We don't know. No one said anything. So we can only speculate. So now that there's a bunch of people in there, in my mind, I'm like, well, did they just revert it back because they got a lot of new players through their EA Access and they want to give them more opportunities to spend money on the stuff in the store? I don't want to think that, but these are the kinds of things that go through my head. So it got me thinking. I remember back when we first started playing and we got the game for the first week and we're like, oh man, there's so much customization in this game. And then we realized like, oh, you can't get any armor pieces except for this one piece.
A full week.
So it reminded me of like how badly I want the store to change. And, maybe that's something that they're going to work on in 2.0. It's probably not going to happen now. Even if they do make changes, I don't think they're going to tell us. They're just going to kind of be like, hey, it's 7 days. Now it's back to 3 to 4 days. And we're just going to carry on because that's kind of the precedent that we've been set. Things will happen. We won't really get communication on it. And then we just move on our day. I mean, this is a small thing, I think. Well, or I don't know. Do you guys think it's a small thing that they changed this? and then reverted it back, or is it just like whatever, move on? It doesn't matter at all.
So
I think because of who we are and being so close to the game at times and really kind of digging into every nugget, every little bit that comes through and our speculative nature anyway, we definitely are. What does this mean? What is happening? Is this the start of something? You know, because we're looking for stuff to let everybody know about that we find on the show. B, we're just those inquisitive gentlemen who just kind of want to know stuff. So I think maybe we're reading too much into things. Maybe we're trying to make stuff out of things that aren't really there. But if it walks like a duck, and if it quacks like a duck,
It's
It'd
probably
be a falcon?
then it's probably a duck.
What?
And you don't ever want to think that about an entity that you're tied to and giving your money to. But I think the writing is on the wall. The proof
Without
is in the
information, it's all
pudding.
leaves it up to speculation for us to figure out, right? JD, what were
Yeah.
you gonna say?
well, so I'm glad Steve kind of said it, and I also just listening to the podcast from last week. I really wish BioWare in these situations would just do what they used to do and just like really just man up, admit you made a mistake. Like I feel like the way that they are communicating with their community right now is less and less human in the way how they've been doing it. And I don't mean like they're like not people or anything like that. It's just that like it's like the whole thing is that like one of the reasons why I liked BioWare and why I still like BioWare to an extent, as a developer, is the fact that they were always like the developers always seemed really down to earth, really human. They had a lot of open communication with people. They had a lot of participation in online discussions, and like just the unwillingness to just say that like, hey, a couple of small mistakes happened, or some things like we done goofed, things like that. And instead, it's like some things aren't performing as anticipated. Like we don't like. I don't like this image that they're trying to put forward of this like we know the product they have on their hands. We know the situation they have on their hands. We know the undertaking that they are currently undertaking. And like we know that they have it's an uphill battle. It is. And to be doing this and still acting like that they're not in the muck, they're not in the mud, that they're not in the whole mess of things right now, and trying to act like they're pearly white and shiny is really just frustrating to me, especially like when we're bouncing between content updates and radio silence. And when they do have a mess up, they don't even really like fess up to it. You're human, guys. Just let us see you as human. Like
Yeah.
you're good, but stop acting so weird.
Yeah, it is really odd. So let's get into the updates that they've sent out, because this ties more into, I think, stuff to JD that you were talking about. So we got a tweet talking about the close of the Cataclysm, because we all knew that this was going to be a timed event. That's what we were told in the beginning. That's what we were told throughout, that this was going to be timed and it was going to go away. I think we talked a lot about on the show that, it's going to be hard that it goes away. But, you kind of look forward to things in the future. So a tweet goes out from Anthem the Game on Twitter on 9/20. It says, "This is it, freelancers, the last call to take on the Cataclysm. It's going to throw everything it has at you. Challenge it head on before head on before it closes on the 24th. Sorry, it took a long time for me to get that out.
Oh, we know.
In the community cortex, so I woke up to get a shot of the featured store on Tuesday, because that's when it reset at 6 o'clock. And I completely forgot that the Cataclysm was going to close. And I still had like 38 stars. I'm like, whatever, if I lose them, no big deal. I don't really care that much. I'm kind of done with Cataclysm. I don't want to run it anymore. And I don't really want to spend the time to open these boxes, because it takes a while to open boxes. So at 6 o'clock, that's usually when the store resets. I'm going to go get a picture. I was actually opening boxes from Herschel at the time. And I open a box and then, move on to the next one, and boom, the store closes. Kicks me out, can't access it. Herschel's still there hanging out, but I couldn't talk to him. I was like, okay, whatever. I knew this was going to happen. No big deal. No sweat off my back. take a picture of the store, and I just go back to work. And I was like, all right, the Cataclysm's over. They didn't say much. We got one tweet, and that's that. And then we started hearing reports from Twitter that the Cataclysm was still open, that there were 3 events that were still open, which I thought was kind of weird. It's like, it's very weird that they left that open without saying that they were going to leave it open. And then people were saying, hey, we still have crystals. We're still earning crystals. I was like, okay, it's even more strange because you can still earn crystals, but the store is gone. Doesn't make much sense to me, especially if BioWare had planned to leave this open at the close of the Cataclysm, would you tell your players so that they can be excited, so you can earn goodwill towards the future of your game? D, hype it up that, hey, we've listened, we're gonna keep it out there, and enjoy the echoes of reality for a little bit more time. Like, I don't know if this was your intent, because to me it feels like this was not the intent. It feels like something happened at that changeover that wasn't supposed to happen, and we ended up having the Cataclysm live for longer than we thought. And instead of saying, oh, sorry, it was supposed to go down, they just left it up, because then we got a hot fix afterwards. So, and this hot fix comes on the 24th. It says, greetings, freelancers. Many of you may have noticed that the Catum content is, well, not totally gone. Technically.
What word did you just say?
Cataclysm content.
What I said. Let me try it again. Let me start over.
Are you
Are you on medicine right now, Steven? What's going on?
Also, many of you have noticed that the Cataclysm content is, well, not totally gone. Technically, the Cataclysm event has officially ended as planned. However, the team decided to leave some of the elements for you to play until the next content release. With that in mind, here's what we decided to leave open until the next seasonal update. The Echoes of Reality portion of the Cataclysm will remain open to you to enjoy. You will still retain and earn crystals in the Echoes of Reality runs. With that said, we know we have some various UI bugs we did not anticipate. The team is working to resolve these. Here are the details you should know. We'll bring back the seasonal store later this week, so that's back. Second, and this one is important, your crystals will not carry over for the next seasonal event. Finally, daily Cataclysm challenges, story missions, and free play events will not remain. Leaderboards will be visible for now, but will not be updated and remain blank until the next event. Okay, so this was from AJ that came out, and then we got another update, another hot fix from Jesse. When was that? It must have been Wednesday that this came out. I don't have this typed up when he said this. So he said on Twitter, we just pushed a hotfix in Anthem game that turned on the following. The seasonal store is back. Echoes of Reality will now display at the start of Expedition screen. Inversions are active with air support and from the skies. All arenas are active in the Cataclysm. Like, I want to believe... I don't know what I want to believe. I want to believe that they intentionally put this up. But I don't know why you don't tell us. I don't know why it takes a hot fix afterwards to put everything back in, to open back up the store, if this was your intent. Like, if your intent is to leave it up, why did you close the store? Why did that happen exactly at the reset? Like, to me, it feels like this was supposed to go away, something messed up, and now it's like, well, we can't shut it down now. So I'm struggling with this because it's a good thing that they left it up, but I don't know if it's like why not just tell us? Why? Like, I feel like I'm being yanked around. I think that's the issue.
Subterfuge? Why the secrecy and the...
I know exactly what you mean, because the whole thing is that, like, I kind of had the realization over the past few days, especially since listening to the last episode. Because, like, I've been saying for a while now that there are certain decisions that BioWare has been making regarding Anthem that just don't make any sense to me. And I always used to feel like I could understand the decision-making process or their rationale behind something when they used to do things. And that's why, I've always been able to, be pretty understanding of things. And it's feeling more and more like there's just a lot of things that they are either being purposely duplicitous about, or just like holding back so much information that they don't need to hold back. And it is just baffling to me, because I used to consider them one of the most open and communicative developers out there. And I really don't feel like they are telling us the whole truth, or even enough of the truth for for us gamers to and fans to really buy into any of what they're selling. And that's hard for me. That's hard for me to say. Like, this isn't just like, like, oh, I've had, like just one bad experience and blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been a fan for almost 15 years. And I feel like they are not being honest with me. I feel like they're not being open with the fans in this particular case. And I don't know why. Is the game really in that delicate of a position that they can't afford to just admit that they made a simple mistake, or give us the full explanation of something? Like, is the reputation that delicate?
I don't know.
I think in answer to your question, I mean, if you listen to our show, it is. It's in a rough spot right now. It's tough to really, take it. It's tough, JD, to really look at this through, some non jaded lenses. I mean, it's tough because of things that have come down. And we have said, no, it'll be this, it'll get better, it'll do this, and it hasn't. And I think it's becoming more clear that, that things are not grand. But I mean, I don't know. I guess the optimist in me says, well, what are you gonna do? How, like what are you gonna do?
I mean, I would think, and this would be something that they have to have been planning for the end of the Cataclysm. Okay, what's next? What's coming after the Cataclysm? Hey, someone says, hey, we should leave it up. And they're like, all right, that's a great idea, but what should we do differently? Because you can't just grind for the same weapons, past that 7 weeks that we've been grinding for those same 9, 14, however many weapons that there are, however many new gear pieces that there are. It's like, what do we do different now that the Cataclysm is over? Now that Vera has been vanquished, we pulled the spear out of the deal. The leaderboards aren't going to matter anymore. What do we do? Someone raises their hand and says, all right, let's bring up all the other legendary items to level 80, because we've seen that they can do that with a hotfix or with an update. They just say, hey, instead of at 75 or whatever, we're putting these up to 80. And now players have a reason to go grind because that power level is increasing, right? Something simple like that you could totally do. And you know what? There's 7 chests. There's a lot of opportunity to get legendaries. We know the Cataclysm is very, very generous in that regards. So now it's something for players like us that have run the Cataclysm for 7 weeks to be like, okay, we can go in there. We can do that. Not a big deal. You have incentive to do that now. But to just open it and be like, all right, here's more content to do. Okay, are there going to be dailies for it? Are there going to be weeklies for it? What incentive do I have now if that leaderboard isn't open? If, we knew it was a timed event. So we spent all our time in there because we knew it was going to go away. And now it's not going away. So it's like, okay, do we congratulate BioWare for doing that and say, hey, thanks for leaving this in? Or it's like, but we spent all our time in here already knowing it was going to go away, to the point of where some of us had burned ourselves out on it. And now it's like, and now it's there, and I'm supposed to congratulate you on that? See, to me, that's what feels wrong about it. If there was something more, that's fine. And then you tell us, hey, guys, we're going to put this out. We're going to leave it open because we heard you and we want you to have fun, and we're going to change a couple things. Not just, hey, guys, there's some inversions active, and we opened up all 7 of the things. I mean, I'm struggling with how I'm even feeling about this to even know what I'm supposed to be feeling, Like, and Devon, I know, like, I need your thoughts on it, because maybe it'll help me figure out my thoughts. But it's just that.
I think their statement also. So the thing that was really sticking out to me on the statement from AJ was really in one of the last lines where he says, second, and this one is important, your crystals will not carry over to the next seasonal event. We don't even know what that means. We don't even know what counts as a seasonal event. Is it Cataclysm size content? Is it events in free play? Is it Christmas or Halloween event? what's a seasonal event? We don't know. So again, they leave us with more questions of, okay, we're getting crystals now, but at any point you can just, oh, it's a new seasonal event, and don't say anything. I mean, because if they continue,
No, they won't tell us anything.
yeah, well, I mean, they haven't told us anything until afterwards, and
When did it dawn?
yeah, and it's like they just drop content. Here it is, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, your crystals are gone now. Everything else, and they'll be like, well, we told you back in this update your stuff wouldn't carry over, and it's like, well, that's great, but maybe a little etiquette would be to let us know beforehand. Having proper etiquette, let your consumer base know that we're gonna be bringing out some new content. Just as a reminder, gonna be polite, have some good etiquette, and let you know that those are gonna be going away soon. So I don't know, maybe just a little something like that would be helpful. But I think things happen. I think it's good that it's here for people to keep playing. New people come in all the time. I'm seeing on the low sodium Reddit that there's new people playing, which is cool. It's great, and the game is fun to experience. It's enjoyable. Obviously, for those of us who have run through the content over and over and over again, there's only so much that's going to keep us there without fresh new content. And like for me, it's pretty much non-existent right now because of all the time I've spent in the Cataclysm, there's not really any point of playing anything else that's there because I already played through that. Hundreds of hours of time playing Anthem, and it's a lot of fun. I just want more new content, But the fact that there's not new content, the fact that there's no communication of this is when the next seasonal event is going to be. I mean, when you don't tell me when something's going to happen, I mean, like Borderlands already announced they're having a Halloween, event. It's like they announced it earlier this week or last week, and it's like, okay, that's weeks.
They announced it the same week the game came out.
Yeah, so it's like they're announcing stuff. They have a roadmap, and it's like they have to have some kind of idea of when this seasonal content is going to come out, and just dropping it on us and not telling us or giving us any idea doesn't build any hype for the game. Doesn't continue to feed your player base and be like, hey, this is when the new content is going to come out. Keep working. You have until this kind of time. I mean, it's just proper etiquette, to let people know those kind of things.
Well, and it alienates your player base too, and with not being able to transfer your crystals over, I mean, it just sounds to me like our next content is going to be another Cataclysm.
And is it just like, you're just going to kill off another economy, create a different new economy, and that other economy is gone?
It makes it sound like you're just going to be doing the same thing again, and we're going to start everybody back at zero. We'll turn the Cataclysm on again and run it for another 6 weeks.
Well, it's supposed to be here till that new event starts, right? So, are they going to take it away then?
It's just mixed, confusing messages is all it is. It's nothing solid. It's nothing concrete. It's tough to have faith in something like that. Video game, car dealership, it's just, I don't know. Well, I'm just thinking that method of doing things, of communicating that way, it doesn't matter if it's a video game developer or if it's any entity here that you do business with. You got to be forthright and forthcoming, and you've got to tell your player base what you're doing, because we want to know. And I don't want to say we have a right to know, but we kind of have a right to know. I mean, this is our time, our money, we're investing in this, and it's that payoff. I mean, you could draw some parallels to the legendary discussion that we had about the payoff to time investment. It just doesn't. It's odd that it's not there. So, but that's all.
No.
Yeah, that bothered me. I wasn't here last week to say, but it bothered me the fact that they call it seasonal events, and they say like something along. I think the wording is seasonal events like what we've had in the past, and I'm thinking to myself, like, you mean the Cataclysm and the Sunken Cell? We've had two things. That is not exactly enough to set a pattern or any kind of reasonable, like, I don't think they can reasonably expect us to have any kind of idea of what they mean based off of two updates like that. We have one that just added a stronghold mission, and then we had the cataclysm content, which was massive, really. And I would consider those like the two big updates that we've had so far, or had. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Yeah.
But,
I agree. Those are.
But they don't. They don't define what a seasonal event is. We have no idea of the scope, of the size, what to expect, and like. Even so, like even if like everybody's just okay with that, if they launch it like they launched a Cataclysm with basically no fanfare, like it's just kind of a big nothing burger in terms of like they treat it as such when it releases, then what's the point? Like you need to be excited for your own game. And when the Cataclysm launched, I felt like I was more excited than the devs were, and like that's the tone it's coming across. BioWare, if you're listening and you don't want it to come across that way, you need to look at how you're communicating right now, because that's how it's coming across to some of us, at least me.
To a lot of us.
I think
Oh, JD, you and your wishful thinking. They're not listening to us.
I think they're probably not. I think to the hardcore, that's exactly how it comes out to, because people that the casual player. I don't like to use the term casual, but in this sense, I'm going to use the casual term. Casual players aren't paying attention to that stuff. They're playing. They're playing Borderlands when it comes out. They're playing Destiny when it comes out, and they're moving on. It's the hardcore players that dive in deep, to game systems, like the hardcore players for Destiny, hardcore players, for any game, the hardcore players for like Tetris, they dive deep. They look at that communication because they want to know what's coming out with their favorite game. And, when your social media is just like non-existent, it's, you definitely feel it. I mean, I do. Like, I don't fault anyone for being like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's like, yeah, come back when maybe there's something. We had the little teaser in the Emerald Abyss of one of the extension cables coming to life and, doing a pulse blast over there. And, that's cool stuff. But it's like, oh, is this going to like continue? Is something else going to happen? When are we going to know about it? Is it going to be
just a cutscene?
Is it just going to be a fart in the wind and just never spoken of again? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because, those are the kind of things that you can get super excited about. Like, hey, go check out the Emerald Abyss. There's still more stuff happening. But to be like, well, the Cataclysm's back. I mean, I just cannot get excited for that. And I would like to get excited for something in Anthem. And this is one of the reasons why we're going to a bi-weekly show. Okay. It's because we're just waiting for something to bring this back in. And, on positive notes, like, man, it would be awesome if we had a real horde mode, not a horde mode like everyone's calling the inversions or whatever they're called, horde modes. That's not a real horde mode. I don't know why people keep calling it a horde mode. It's not a horde mode. Like, if we were to have a real horde mode, like a horde mode is like you play until you die, right? If there was something like that in there that gave you points and you could keep going and you could push leaderboards and you could just play it over and over and again with different abilities. Like, that's something that you could be excited to go do. Like Cataclysm, just as cool as it was for the 7 weeks and for the story, gameplay wise, it doesn't have the longevity to keep you coming back because it doesn't have the ability to have a private, match on there. You're always, if you're not playing with a 4 stack of people, you're always in there with someone else and they're not always going to be on the same page. So it's hard to get excited about something like that. It's hard to get excited when there's not really a loot chase. Like, as much as we always comes back to the loot because your game is a looter shooter, until you have that fixed, it's hard to get excited about anything. And like, I want them to succeed. I really do. Like, I've been pretty down and upset, and mostly it's because of the communication on the game that we're not getting any. And the communication is, we're kind of having to pick through it, weed through it, just because that's what we do. And it's just, it doesn't give you a lot of confidence to continue on. So anyway, that's where we're going to end episode 105 of the Freelancer Codex podcast, because because I'm done. So now we're going to play a button. We're going to play a button. Mike, how do you play buttons?
You push them.
Play the button, Steve. Play the button.
We're pulling an Empire Strikes Back. We're ending on a down note, people.
You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Stephen Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.
Oof.